We have guest speakers joining us today. We're delighted to have Paula Ward, the Economic Infrastructure Development Specialist from the South of Scotland Enterprise. We have Steve Duncan from Visit Scotland. He is the Senior North Regions and Sectors Marketing Manager, who'll be co-presenting with Massey from Visit Scotland. We also are delighted to have Sustrans joining us today, Emilia Hanna, who is the Head of Programme for Network Development. We're looking forward to hearing from the guest speakers today and advising how you can get a slice of the action. And today is very relevant. It marks 100 days until the launch of the UCI World Championships. So I'll hand over to Paula Ward.
So good morning, everybody. I'm not sure whether or not you can see me when my presentation's on screen, but I'm Paula Ward and I work for South of Scotland Enterprise. I'm an economic development specialist. I have the amazingly brilliant job of looking after the delivery of the South of Scotland Cycling Partnership cycling strategy, and also being the delivery manager for UCI on behalf of my agency for this year. So I'm really delighted to be here and to talk to you about the power of the bike. Okay, so our region, South of Scotland, Dumfries and Galloway and the Scottish borders, we are steeped in a history of innovation. We are free thinkers, we are mavericks who set the stage for the rest of the world. It might come as a surprise to a few of you that are on the session today, but cycling started here. I'm going to tell you a wee bit more about it. Next slide, Kevin. Destinations all over the world look for universal truths. They look for things that only they can lay claim to. These are moments in time that will forever be owned by them, and this is ours. South of Scotland is the global home of cycling. Just nearly 200 years ago, a blacksmith from Dumfriesshire created the velocipede, and it went on to become known as the bicycle. Kirkpatrick Macmillan, who was a humble man from Dumfriesshire, his innovation changed the world of transport forever, and it cemented the South of Scotland's place in history as the birthplace of the modern day bicycle. So to put that into context, South of Scotland has given the world the Tour de France, the Giro d'Italia, the Vuelta a España, the Olympic disciplines in mountain biking, BMX, marathon, the newly indoctrined UCI Gravel series. Without the South of Scotland, there would be no Chris Hoy, there'd be no David Miller, no Hannah Barnes, no Danny McCaskill. Without the South of Scotland, there would be none of those iconic scenes in E.T. of those kids on the bikes that captured your imagination when you were wee. So it's fair to say that Kirkpatrick Macmillan is an iconic figure in cycling, and we are immensely proud of the fact that he came from the South of Scotland, and we think that it's very fitting that the UCI Cycling World Championships is really returning home to the home of the bike where cycling started. So I'm going to show you a little video of what you will expect to see come August. Next slide, go in and play the video, please.
You don't need to do big things to change the world. All you need is a bike. It doesn't matter if you're popping to the shops, going to school or work, or just enjoying the open road. Bikes make us better. And the more of us that get in the saddle, the better the world gets. Our health, our communities, our climate. All for the next generation. That's what we're celebrating. The power of the bike. Glasgow and venues across Scotland will host the first event of its kind, never seen nor cycled before. Elite and amateur riders from more than 120 countries will come together to compete across 13 disciplines. It's one mega event where Scotland will welcome the world with open arms, dreams will become a reality, and more than 150 world champions will be crowned. Around the globe, over 1 billion people will watch the action and fall head over heels in love with cycling. So don't just sit there, sit on a bike, and we'll show the world what we mean by the power of a bike. Join us on our journey to 2023.
It's 100 days until we welcome the world to our region to south of Scotland. We will be hosting 11 incredible days of competition. In Dumfries, we'll be hosting the para road cycling events, and those will run from Wednesday the 9th, 10th and the 11th. And in the Scottish Borders at Glentress, we will be hosting the marathon, the cross country and downhill events. These are elite athletes, but they're also a combination of elite and amateur competitors. In terms of the scale of the organisation, it's something that you've never seen before. This has never been cycled and never been seen before, but we know that the audience is there. So as you can see, there's a range of 11 different events. So there'll be 13 World Championships events that will take place. And as I said, we have mountain biking, which will be taking place at Glentress. And then we have the para road cycling championships, which will be taking place in Dumfries. Next slide, please. So we're expecting to see 1 million spectators visit the destinations over the 11 days. We will be broadcast into markets in 160 countries around the world, which is really quite phenomenal. BBC Sport and EBU will be the broadcasting partners, and the economic impact just purely from the visiting athletes and the teams is expected to reach the millions of pounds before we even get to the spectator value. In Glentress, we're expecting to see approximately 3,000 competitors take place in Glentress. We think that we will attract between 20 and 27,000 spectators over the course of the competition days into the Tweed Valley. The operational preparation that has gone in to that is nothing short of Titanesque, actually, if I can use that word. There will be park and ride systems, there will be high demand for accommodation, there are going to be a series of fringe events that will be taking place on the high streets of Peebles, of Innerleithen. There will be overspill opportunities that will take place at Tweed Green. In terms of the direct economic impact for the area, we are forecasting that it will be worth about £4 million for the local economy. The events in the Scottish Borders are expected to reach a global audience of about 34 million people. So we have the opportunity to do a great service to our region to highlight I guess our place and our commitment to cycling and to this type of visitor. This is a schedule. All of this information is available on the Cycling World Championships website. If you are interested in speaking to that consumer group, I would recommend go and have a look at the UCI Cycling World Championships website. You can then extract these competition days, have a look at your rate management, look at your opening hours. What would you like to do in that space during that period of time, and what is your business model for that period of time? There are toolkits that are available for you to be able to utilise the UCI branding and information. If you want to build content on your web, you can, and I know that Steve and Anne from Visit Scotland are going to cover a little bit of that later on. So in Dumfries, we will be hosting the Roads Paracycling event. The World Championships for the paracycling is forecast to generate about £1.5 million for the regional economy. The spend of the athletes, the support and event staff and the visitors attracted to the area, we think a realistic forecast is about £150,000 to £200,000 just for the team revenue. Based on initial quite conservative figures, we expect to see 3,000 spectators per day attend for each day of the World Championships, with about 60% of those visitors coming from out with the Dumfries and Galloway area. And we think the average length of stay for those spectators is going to be 2 to 3 days in the area. From a bed nights perspective, just directly linked to the competitors and their support staff, we estimate about 1,800 bed nights will come into the Dumfries area. So it's definitely worth getting involved.
Hear that? Scotland is gearing up to host the biggest cycling event ever, and it'll be all kinds of amazing. You'll ooh at mind-bending trips. Ah, at logic-defying speeds. Or ah, at nerve-shredding trails. Shh. On your marks, go! Then woo! As challengers, become champions. We're setting the stage for the world's best cyclists as they compete for rainbow jersey glory across 13 UCI World Championships in an event never seen nor cycled before. Witness the power of the bike at the 2023 UCI Cycling World Championships. It's going to be all kinds of amazing.
It's important to I guess, highlight that it's not just the UCI, it's not just this one opportunity that we have that's presented itself to our region. Our region has developed a 10-year strategy to unlock the power of the bike. It was published in September 2022. It's a partnership approach, and from the outset, it was already recognised that the south of Scotland has a significant unique selling point in relation to road, gravel, and mountain biking experiences. So thousands of people are already engaged in projects or programmes linked to increasing cycling participation, and you'll hear from Amelia at Sustrans today. There's new routes being developed, there's millions of pounds that are either committed or available, and we will be made stronger by having this central point of a strategy and a delivery plan to track the collective efforts of all those people that are involved in unlocking the power of the bike. Next slide, Gowan. So why now? There's been significant opportunities presented. So cycling in Scotland is entering a real watershed moment. There has been a range of national policies which were published over the last 3 to 4 years, which all support in detail the ambitions to try and create widespread behavioural change, both of our citizens and our visitors. We need to move quickly towards net zero. Cycling and the cycling industry offers us the chance to support no fewer than 11 national policies and growth deals. So the economic opportunities for the south of Scotland within the context of the fact that we already have a market leading position mean that we've got a chance to really strengthen our region, to reshore jobs here, to increase participation, to improve health and well-being. This is a partnership approach. All of the people that are on that slide there are the national, regional and local agencies who are all involved in trying to unlock the power of the bike for the south of Scotland. Some are investing revenue funding, some are investing capital, some are investing human resource and commitments to projects and communities across the south. So what's the vision? It's pretty easy. It's a bold and ambitious, and some would say impossible vision for the south of Scotland, but what we want is a place that prioritises people over cars. So unlocking the power of the bike is fundamental for a sustainable future. This vision, which is by 2032, all of our south of Scotland communities are shaped around our people, and cycling is the most popular choice for shorter everyday journeys. We want that to be embedded into the daily fabric of the lives of our residents and our visitors. It makes a statement about how seriously we take cycling. We expect to be able to, if we can drive that behavioural change, we expect to be able to make a significant contribution towards those national and our regional net zero targets. By delivering that vision, we will also have the chance to become recognised as Scotland's leading cycling destination and a world-class cycling destination of excellence in which to live, visit, work and invest. So we've taken a very methodical approach. We've created the strategy focusing around 6 key themes. You can see those on the slides there. And underneath each of those themes, we have a set of priorities. If we get it right, the opportunity to make the south of Scotland the global home of the bike and deliver strategic and important outcomes, things that are going to genuinely benefit our businesses, our citizens and also our visitors. So the scale of the opportunity is vast. In terms of what the scale is from a visitor economy perspective. If we could even pick up 0.5% of the total European market, it would deliver £45 million of direct spend into our visitor economy in the south of Scotland. Now, if you ramp that up and say, well, actually, let's target and try and get 5% of the European cycling visitor economy, that starts to be really, really significant money, because those people are traveling and they are spending. This information is going to be published online afterwards, so you can see there just what the scale of the market environment is. So it's a lot of information to take in. There's some really excellent industry information out there. CBI published a fantastic study in September 2022. This gives us the opportunity to package and to put other types of businesses together and to extend that supply chain and to lock more money into the south and into our local economy. So the good news is that we already have 10 catalyst projects and programs that are activated across the 10-year strategy timeframe. They are once in a generation, and the development of the strategy gives us a chance to anchor and also to prioritise action plans to help harness those opportunities. So I'm going to just touch very lightly, because this is going to be covered in depth on the next webinar session that's coming up, that will have a key focus on Kirkpatrick. We will launch in July a new long distance 250-mile cycle route, which will run from Stranraer to Eyemouth, and it will pass through some of the most beautiful parts of our region. The full name of the route is the Kirkpatrick C2C, south of Scotland's coast to coast. The version of the name will be used as descriptor at the beginning of documents and reports and press releases, etc. It's a unique challenge. It's not just any cycling route. It's a journey that traverses a whole country. It cycles the length of Scotland from the Irish Sea to the North Sea, and that's incredibly unique. For cyclists, it will mark an accomplishment while they explore and they experience our region. We want them to do that slowly. We want them to do it intimately. This is a route which can support our fragile rural economies. It will give us a chance to welcome new visitors, and it will bring economic, environmental and community benefits to those towns, villages and hamlets. For the south of Scotland, it will secure our place as one of Europe's top cycling destinations. It will be the first time that cyclists have the opportunity to ride those 250 miles from Stranraer or Portpatrick in the west to Eyemouth in the east, and it will take them through history and landscapes and amazing things that they maybe have never discovered before. It's a place that lets them discover what shaped Scotland, where fierce battles raged, legendary kings, etc. So it's an amazing opportunity for people to discover. So this will be some of the marketing that you'll see, and I know that SSDA are just currently working through the marketing strategy and the launch strategy just now for Kirkpatrick C2C, so you can expect to see this going out live and some of the campaign activity that will take place in the coming months. So, and I'm happy to take questions, but I think that's going to be held to the end, Gibbon, after everybody else has presented. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right, Paula. There'll be time for questions then.
Okay. Super. Okay, well, thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak to you about the power of the bike today.
Thank you very much, Paula. That's been a wonderful insight into the power of the bike and the huge opportunities for businesses in the south of Scotland with the summer of cycling approaching, and the cycling events beyond summertime. I noticed that people are popping questions into the chat, which is fantastic. Please continue to do so, and I'm sure many of you will have some questions for Paula, and we'll have 15 minutes at the end of the session for questions and answers. I'll now hand over to Steve Duncan and Anne Massey from Visit Scotland, who will be co-presenting the next session.
Thanks very much, Linny. So I'm just going to quickly talk about the scale of the cycling tourism opportunity for Scotland from a Visit Scotland perspective, who we're targeting and how we're starting to raise awareness of Scotland as a leading cycling tourism destination. And then I'll hand over to my colleague Anne, who's going to just update you on our new cycling tourism industry guide and give you a little bit of business advice and pointers, that sort of stuff. So just to start with, the scale of the opportunity. We can see from a 2018 European Cyclist Federation report that the scope or the scale is massive, 2.3 billion trips in 2018, generating around 37 billion for the European economy. Going by our most recent research, the combined value of our cycling tourism to the Scottish economy is around 282 million, which is healthy enough. But when you actually put it against the European research, it's 0.5% and 0.8% respectively. So we have, I think, a fairly significant opportunity here to really ramp up cycling tourism in Scotland and make sure that we're trying to get a bigger proportion of that share of market. So the World Championships is a gilt-edged opportunity for us to shine a spotlight on Scotland and all the work we're doing to improve facilities, accessibility, sport, and promoting cycling, making sure that we link that to responsible tourism and the well-being economy. So we need to seize that with both handlebars. So we need to get on with that. We're already seeing some great interest from Dutch and German publishers and platforms looking for information about cycling in Scotland. And we were out in Tartan Week just a couple of weeks ago, in actual fact, and we had the cycling and the Cycling World Championships featured as part of our celebrations across there, which I think is fantastic. I've been with Visit Scotland for 23 years and I don't think I've ever seen that in the past, so brilliant to see that. So this is the ideal time for us to work collaboratively, and there's already a lot of that going on at present, so we just need to keep going and really just seize all these massive opportunities while we still have them. To get us on the right track, we want to make sure that we set our stall out, I suppose. So what this is doing is really just giving a strategic overview of what we're aiming to do for cycling tourism, who we're targeting and how we're aiming to reach our audiences. We definitely believe that Scotland has the potential to become a leading cycling destination, and that chimes really well with what Paula's just been mentioning for the south of Scotland as well, and this whole idea of the birthplace of the bike. We definitely want to highlight the World Championships through our activity wherever we can, and we are doing that, and I'll talk a bit about that. And we'll monitor our progress using the Great Britain Tourism Survey just to check, you know, what the incremental increases are from a base year of I think 2019. Our insights team has also been working hard to create some new research, and I'd very much urge you to have a look at that on visitscotland.org. Some really great insights in there, and they're also going to weave some cycling and mountain biking questions into the visitor survey questionnaire, which survey work is actually underway just now, and the results should be published in 2024. So that'll give us some good insights as well for the legacy aspects of what we're going to do for cycling tourism. A broader target audiences are adventure seekers, so 55% of those are under 35, and experience seekers, 67% are aged between 25 and 44. And they're looking for this whole outdoor experience and well-being experiences, I think, are fundamentally important to those audiences as well. So, and very much courtesy of our friends at Sustrans, we have a fantastic marketing segmentation study of Scots cyclists, which we're really using well for our cycling, a joint activity with them as well. So I'm really pleased to have that and to be able to use it in a much more targeted fashion. In order to get us off on the right foot or pedal, you choose, we need to make sure that we have a persuasive visitor proposition. So we gave our creative agency a lot of insights, bit of an open brief, some ideas of what our key competitors were doing, and they went away and did some work. And once we distilled everything down, we actually felt, with all the great things that are on this slide here, and apologies, it's quite text heavy, that Scotland really is made for cycling. We just have such a great product, and when you couple it with all the great scenery that you find across Scotland, it's definitely something that we feel we can hang our hat on. And also, as Paul has rightly mentioned, we are the birthplace of the bike because it was invented here in 1839. So definitely a moment of truth, as Paula says. So how are we bringing that to life? We're doing loads of work at the moment, as you might expect. So over the last couple of months, the top left you can see there, that's our new hero video, Scotland Made for Cycling video. I've put a link in there, and we'll obviously share this deck so you can go and have a look at that. So we're using that across our paid activity with Sustrans. It's also being broadcast in 13 eye centres across Scotland, and we'll also be using it for some of the World Championships events. It really just helps to bring this whole idea of Made for Cycling to life. We also ran a YouTube, or we ran some activity with YouTube, sorry, on our Aníla McKenna Tweed Valley mountain bike video, and that did incredibly well. I'm very pleased to let you know that it generated 413,000 views on YouTube just in February and March. So really helping to promote the area, but also setting the scene for Scotland Made for Cycling, and also the Cycling World Championships as well. This video is also being broadcast in our news screen in Jedburgh Eye Centre, so quite pleased to have that up there as well. We're doing other things like, we're sending out cycling emails, and we sent one out just ahead of the World Championships tickets going on sale to 900,000 contacts within the Visit Scotland database. So again, lots of great activity going on. Consumer PR team are regularly pitching cycling stories and themes to journalists, and as a result of that, we had Stuart Kenny write a piece in The Guardian in the best places to go on holiday, which featured the new Kirkpatrick coast to coast route, which I'm really pleased about, because that was, I think February or March, and we're a long way off launch yet. So there's already this interest, not only from journalists, but I think we're also seeing some interest from some tour operator clients as well. So really pleased about that as well. And I think Stuart's due to come back maybe in May to write a section of the coast to coast, and then write another article for The Guardian. So this is fantastic to see. Mentioned our great work with Sustrans. On the content side of things, the cycling map that we've been working with Sustrans on since 2018 is by far and away our biggest content asset. It's generated 250,000 page views last year, and we're hoping we can obviously build on that for this year as well. Really pleased to see how that's going. We'll be adding the Kirkpatrick coast to coast route to this map, and it will go live in early July as well. So great to see that added, and we've got another 70 odd routes on the map at the moment, and they're continually adding to that as we go. Sustrans are also working on creating some active travel routes to the World Championships events, and these are going to be for Glentrest, Fries, Glasgow, Fort William and Stirling, and the aim of these is really to try and encourage people to travel to venue by bike or active, on foot, rather than actually go by car to try and maybe alleviate some pressure on local roads. But ideally we want people to go by bike in any case, because it really links to the actual festival cycling that's coming up. At some point as well, I'd be really keen to add some of the World Championships routes to the map, though that's still a discussion we need to have. But we've seen Visit Yorkshire getting some success from. So Visit Scotland still see some great volumes of cyclists riding their Tour de France Grand Depart route from 2014, when everything turned yellow. So we want to do the same for some of these World Championships routes, so we can have that legacy aspect of riders actually riding these for years to come. So yeah, and we're also working closely with Sustrans at the moment to promote the map through our spring campaign, which leads me on to this particular slide. So that just gives a bit of an overview of what we're actually doing with Sustrans to drive more views to that particular map, which seems to be going really well. We've got a target of 15,000 landings. We've done really well on the first phase, which was targeting midlifers to get on their bike more, and that generated just over 5,000 landings in a space of a couple of weeks. We're live on broadcast video on demand with ITVX, STV Player, Sky, and all four, really just to raise awareness of cycling. So again, we're trying to do the awareness raising, but also drive people to the map as well. Hoping to run a bit more activity in autumn time, but that's still to be agreed. And I'm very closely working with our Visit Scotland own channel colleagues to map out what we're going to do before, during, and very much importantly beyond the World Championships as part of our legacy, to make sure that we keep seizing the cycling tourism opportunities and make sure that we're driving this this Scotland Made for Cycling message for years to come. And finally, from me, before I hand across to Anne, we'll be developing a cycling tourism framework that sets out our legacy strategy. I think that's really important and a really key aspect of what we want to achieve going forward. We'll also continue to support appropriate infrastructure investment through our Rural Tourism Initiative Fund. Infrastructure fund, that's a mistake. One of the things that's coming up from that is a new Glencoe Greenway, and I know that's not relevant to the south of Scotland, but it highlights a good example of what that particular fund can do. So that Greenway is going to be an active travel route from Glencoe Village all the way up to the Three Sisters car park, and the car park is going to be improved as well. So people will be able to cycle, from that in a safe fashion up to that point. So that's maybe just serving as a good example of what could be possible in other parts of the country. And importantly, we'll continue to demonstrate how Scotland is made for cycling to our many visitors through our own earned, paid for and travel trade activity. So lots going on at the moment, and it's super, super exciting. I'm really keen to, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing as far as the cycling side of things is concerned. So I'm just going to hand over to Anne now, who's going to talk to you a bit about business advice and our new industry toolkit. Anne, over to you.
Thanks very much, Steve, and thanks very much to Paula, first of all, for providing that inspirational content at the beginning, and to Steve for giving us an update on what Visit Scotland as an organisation is actually doing as well. I've just got some very brief slides to talk to you about specific advice for businesses, and a lot of it will be stuff that you're already aware of, but I hope as well we'll be able to give you a bit of food for thought. We're also keen to get businesses get ready for opportunities that the World Championships are bringing, but also to capitalise on the opportunities that the Kirkpatrick Coast to Coast route brings, as well as the plethora of cycling routes available in the south of Scotland. You've seen the evidence as to the cycling opportunities from Steve and Paula, and the south of Scotland is the ideal place for businesses to develop your proposition. And as Paula said earlier, there is a 10-year strategy to unlock the power of the bike. So this is obviously ongoing. Recognising using the UCI World Championships as a jumping off point, we created a cycling tourism industry guide which superseded the previous cycling welcome scheme that we operated, and that was generally only available to businesses and quality assurance schemes, but obviously it's much more wide, and the opportunities are all for different types of businesses. It's hosted on visitscotland.org, and the link is in the presentation. We launched it on the 24th of January, and all of the pages on visitscotland.org. It's the 6th most visited page and the 3rd most visited page under business support, which is a great success. Quality assurance is very important to visitors, especially our international visitors, which cycling will attract. Across hotels, guest houses and bed and breakfasts, more than 50% of cycling demand is for 3 and 4 star properties. So quality assurance is a good way of giving more visibility to your business to these visitors. It's also worth noting that properties with quality assurance gradings are 2.5 times more likely to be searched for using our website, visitscotland.com. It's a very popular filter on the website. Taste or Breast grading is for food and drink providers, and a great way of showing community-minded visitors that you prioritise local provenance, and you also work with local suppliers, helping to keep the communities vibrant and the supply chain local. The cycling guide, I'm pleased to say, also contains a link to a cycling collection of images that businesses can download for free from our media library and use within your own content. Content for your own marketing channels is very important, including your social media channels, hugely important, and visuals for customers work well. So please feel free to use. And just to flag that, to follow on from this webinar, my colleague will be running a webinar on the 9th of May to talk about businesses and how you use your online booking, OTAs, and to channel manage to ensure you, you capture the cycling visitor. Next slide, please, Steve. Very quick overview about some practical things that you can do. There are more suggestions in the cycling tourism guide. This is not an exhaustive list, and it's basically just highlighting what you do best and providing a great Scottish welcome to your visitors. But it's a nice sort of starting point for easy and practical things that you can do to welcome the cycling market, whether it's cycling families or whether it's extreme cyclists. Next slide, please. Things to consider when developing product and cycling specific product. I think it's worth noting here as well that COVID has accelerated trends. People are looking for transformative travel and unique experiences. They really like being outdoors. They are looking for active travel and adventure. Cycling certainly feeds into the COVID trend of wellness. I mentioned Taste Our Best. People are looking for that authenticity and buying local and connecting with place. Volunteer tourism or voluntourism is a great trend as well. People are very conscious now about the environmental impacts of travel, and cycling is certainly very well placed to help ameliorate that. It's a unique opportunity for Scotland, as you've heard both Steve and Paula say. And so what I've done is we can help you develop your proposition. So to develop your unique proposition for you as a business, what are you? What is your business doing? Where are you located? Are you near cycle routes? Can you get to cycle routes? What else have you got around you that can be done for the non-cyclist? And again, highlighting local food and drink. What assets do you have as a business? I'm sure you've all got excellent service and that great Scottish welcome. Personalising the experience for your visitors, and what facilities do you have for cyclists? Who can you work in partnership with? So that's your local attractions, your local accommodation providers, your local cafes and restaurants, retailers, bike hire. Who else can you work with to improve that proposition? And finally, what kind of customer do you want? Is it high end? Some of these cyclists that visit have bikes that cost more than my new car. And obviously they do have money to spend as well. Is it family groups that you want to attract, or is it groups of cyclists or even groups of visitors that you want to attract? All of this helps to amplify the destination message. All I will do now is finish by saying, if you want more help and you want to discuss this more in depth, then obviously you can either speak to Ian and Helene from Visit Scotland, and of course you've got the SSDA team on hand to help you with developing your proposition to take it to market. And just another reminder about the other webinar on the 9th of May that will help with this as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much to Steve and Anne. That's been absolutely fantastic, really exciting times ahead, and superb to really get a sense of the scale of the opportunity that's ahead. And I'll now pass on to Emilia from SOSE.
Hi everyone, I'm Emilia Hanna. I'm Head of Programme for Network Development at SOSE. And I'm just going to speak quite briefly about the opportunity that the new Coast to Coast route brings to the local area in terms of its contribution to business opportunities, but also as part of the active travel revolution. But before I get onto that, I just want to say that it brings me a lot of pleasure, and it's great privilege to sit on the South of Scotland Cycling Partners Leadership Group. And that is because its strategic vision is so inspiring. Paula's already mentioned it, but by 2032, cycling will be the most popular choice for shorter everyday journeys and embedded into our daily fabric. I think that's something that we can all get behind, and it's something that we at SOSE fully share. The energy that the South of Scotland enterprise is putting into this is really exciting to see. So we look forward to seeing where this goes longer term beyond just this year. So with that said, let's look to the opportunity that the new Coast to Coast route brings to the local area. So we know already that cycling and cycle tourism can be very good for local economies. We've heard a lot about that. And I just want to touch on the Caledonia Way. We commissioned a study a couple of years ago on the contribution that it made. And what we learned was that leisure cyclists access a wide range of local businesses and they like to spend. And that's the case whether they are on day trips, but even more so if they are on a long distance trip. So I'll just briefly go through these slides. So this shows the range of different services that visitors accessed. And this shows the amount of spend per head there. So you can see there that if you're on a cycling holiday, you tend to spend quite a lot, but even if you're on a day trip as well, across a range of sectors. And hopefully this will work. I'm just going to try to play a quick video of a very happy business owner who's benefited from cycling tourism in the area. Oh no, guys, sorry. It was working in the tech run through, but for whatever reason, it doesn't want to play ball now, so I'll just skip on. But I think you've already heard a lot of the evidence here about the contribution that leisure cycling makes to tourism. So at SOSE, we're keen to show this contribution. We're really happy to be working with Visit Scotland on this. And it was great to hear that presentation just now. But we're also even more keen to get people walking and wheeling and cycling as part of their everyday day-to-day choices. And there's strong evidence to suggest that leisure cycling can act as a gateway to functional cycling amongst Scottish cyclists. So this route has the potential to be a catalyst to get people to switching to cycling longer term, contributing to the South of Scotland Enterprise's vision to embed cycling into the daily fabric of society. This brings me on to my final point, which is about the part that this route is playing in the broader active travel revolution. As we've already heard, it's an exciting time for active travel right now, with the Scottish Government committed to providing alternatives to driving in the face of the climate emergency and aiming to reducing the vehicle kilometres driven by cars by 20% by 2030 and to delivering 20-minute neighbourhoods. At SOSE, our vision for the National Cycle Network for 2040 is of a Scotland-wide network of traffic-free walking, cycling and wheeling routes for everyone, connecting cities, towns and rural areas loved by the communities they serve. Our strategic aim is that the NCN should be usable by any confident 12-year-old. So that's the benchmark to which we work. We're committed to maximising the potential of the NCN in Scotland to contributing to tackling the climate, nature and health crises at pace and scale, and in a way that tackles transport poverty and supports an equitable and diverse usership. And it's really important for us to be supporting work in rural contexts. And that's because over half of car emissions come from rural contexts. The challenge is getting cycle paths that are safe and usable by everyone. So although the coast-to-coast route is not part of the NCN at the moment, being a route that is more for experienced cyclists, it's very much my hope that the many tourists who are definitely going to be enjoying it this summer as part of the fantastic celebrations around the Cycling World Championships and beyond will be the pioneers who will breathe life into the active travel revolution in the south of Scotland, sparking the appetite for improvements to our cycling infrastructure in rural contexts. So, for example, separated infrastructure, campaigns to lower speed limits, and so on. In this way, our rural Scotland can benefit from the fruits of the active travel revolution. So it's so inspiring to be here and to hear about the work that's going to happen this summer and beyond. And we look forward to staying engaged and involved. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Amelia. That's been fantastic to hear, and we will look forward to being able to look at the case study that unfortunately wouldn't play. I'm sure you can pop a link into the chat.
I'll pop a link in the chat.
That's
yeah, sorry about that. Tech
no
fail
problem
on the day.
No problem at all. So thanks again to all our speakers, to Paula, to Steve, to Anne and Amelia. And we now have the remainder of the session for some questions and answers. If anyone would like to address any questions to the speakers.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've written down a few questions, but I'm going to stick with this one. It was mentioned, obviously, the legacy of the World Championships. I'm aware that the mountain bike marathon route is about, I think it's about 100 miles. I've asked this in several other meetings if that route will be left in place, and actually if there's any budget to possibly waymark it, route it, and make it a thing which would increase visitors. I've been told no. So can the SSDA / SUSTRANS / Visit Scotland influence the right people for that to be a thing that we can keep?
I'm happy to take that one. Thanks so much for the question, Andy. I think that's an excellent point, actually. Linny and myself have recently been on the local organising committee sessions with the organisers, with the route builders actually as well. So we receive regular updates on the competition routes. So we actually have a catch up coming up. So I'll be really happy to put that question to them and to see if there's anything that we can do or anything where we can support to encourage them in that direction.
Okay, thanks. And when would we expect a reply to that? Would that be at one of the webinars?
I'll do my best to have an update in one of the next webinars, I would say. To my knowledge, I think the route is still in the process of being built, but we should get an update in the next 2 weeks or so on where the team is at. So hopefully they can give us an update on the plans for the future of the route as well. So within the next 2 weeks, I will hopefully have an answer for you, Andy. I hope that's all right in terms of the timeline.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. It was mentioned for there's a series of fringe events planned for around the UCI World Championships in August. Do we have any further details on what those events are?
Yeah, so Andy, the sessions are being pulled together by the team at Developing Mountain Biking in Scotland and Go Tweed Valley, and I know that they have been hosting workshop sessions to encourage the businesses to think about what that will look like in terms of what fringe events they could run during it. So my understanding is that probably by the middle of May or early June, we would have a series of different events that would be taking place, but it's going to be the businesses that will be required in order to catalyse that and make it happen. I also know that the Scottish Borders Council currently have got a tender out to look for a delivery partner for some of that wraparound fringe event activity. So I think Jane Warcup is on the call today, and I think the deadline for those submissions for that tender is towards the end of April and early May. So I think by early June you would have those events published and in the public domain.
I can also follow up on that, and that actually, I believe we have Go Tweed Valley on one of the next webinars. Is that correct, Lenny? Is it next week or the week after?
That's right. Go Tweed Valley will be on next week's webinar on the 2nd.
It's Shan here from Strawberry Lemonade Events, and my camera is doing that thing, but it's not
Hi,
working.
Shan.
Hi. I suppose I'm just shooting my shot here while I've got Andy, who seems to be the man in the know. What do people want from their fringe events? Like, what would make it brilliant for you guys? What are your key things that you'd like to see?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's possibly directed at the wrong person for me. I guess actually clarity. So I have actually put in a funding application to run an event as well, but it was part of the question was just to find out what else is actually going on, because we want to try and link our proposed event with other events. So I think clarity of information and joined up thinking is really ultimately what we would like to be able to see. I would like to see there being hubs where fringe events could all run from. So in terms of our event, we've requested that we can almost run it from a hub, so that it's anyone who's taken part in our event can then link in with any other events that are happening around the same time. So I think joined up thinking and clarity of information would be my.
Super, thanks, Andy.
Great, thank you, Shan. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll just remind everyone that we have this webinar is the first in a series of 3. Our next webinar will focus on Kirkpatrick Macmillan and communities, and it will take place at 11 o'clock on Tuesday the 2nd of May. Following that, on the 9th of May at 11 o'clock, we'll then be looking at how to get your business cycle ready. So I do hope that you will all join us again on these dates, and thanks again for attending.